Good evening, Nigeria, and welcome. Expectedly, gas, power and energy topped the activities shopping list, as it were, at the Nigeria Petroleum Summit, where the launching of the National Gas Transportation Code was espoused. On the checklist of the code are gas pipeline integrity, open access to pipeline, common understanding on gas metering. NNPC is looking beyond the national frontiers into the sub-region for business, even as the corporation is looking to establish a 1,350 megawatts independent power plant in Abuja. A $1.16 million USTDA grant has been secured. The NLNG company is close to its 2022 100% Nigerianization target, which has now come up to 83%, with exciting numbers of seafarers being recorded by its subsidiaries. And from our window on the world, a new proposition to extend voluntary production adjustments until end of 2020 has been proposed by OPEC JTC, and what it's all about is in the details. We're glad you could join us. My name is Akin Agbejule. This is Oil and Gas Forum.
Credit to the GMD, Malam Kyari, who's really creating right now a desire and also a foundation to have a mature conversation on what needs to be done. That climate is beginning in order to take the next step and really put something tangible in play.
NNPC Retail launches a range of superior quality engine oils for improved engine health, life and efficiency. The NNPC lubricants, specifically formulated to give dependable all year-round engine protection, cleaner engines, oxidation resistance and discrepancy, turbocharged for high-grade performance, suited for motorcycles, automobiles, medium and heavy-duty stationary units. Buy NNPC lubricants, the energy to run for longer.
The federal government has inaugurated the National Gas Transportation Code in its drive to unlock the abundant gas resources in the country. Speaking at the opening ceremony of the just concluded Nigeria International Petroleum Summit, NIPS, in Abuja, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources Chief Timipre Silva said the National Gas Transportation Network Code is to ensure gas pipeline integrity, open access to pipelines, and offer a common understanding on gas metering.
It must be taken as a call to us in Africa to look inwards, develop and sustain technical as well as managerial capacities in innovation, operations and management of our endowed oil and gas resources.
President Buhari, who was represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, assured investors of the federal government's commitment to create an investor's haven in the country.
Nigeria, as a major oil-producing nation, remains ready and accessible for legitimate investments from all interested countries, individuals, and partners.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, has stated that it would expand its operational footprints across the globe, saying the move would enable the corporation boost its global profile. The Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Malam Kyari, disclosed this at the third edition of the Nigeria International Petroleum Summit, NIPS 2020, in Abuja. Malam Kyari stated that though the primary focus of the corporation was to ensure energy security for Nigeria, it had capacity to meet the energy needs of the entire West African sub-region.
Gas means business, gas means prosperity, and we are going to work to make sure that that works. And ultimately, when you deliver gas through many initiatives that we are putting in place, delivering the OBV trade, the expanding the Alps, and also delivering the AKK line.
Speaking further at the summit, Malam Kyari noted that NNPC will sustain its business culture of transparency, accountability and performance excellence tape, even as the corporation remains the only entity in the world that publishes its financial and operations reports monthly. Senate President Dr. Ahmad Lawan, who was represented by the Senate Committee Chairman Upstream, Senator Basi Akman, reassured players in the nation's oil and gas industry of the commitment of the 9th National Assembly to enact legislation that would promote the growth of the nation's petroleum sector.
All hands must be on deck. We cannot afford to shirk our responsibilities pursuant to the fulfillment of our mandates and obligations.
The summit, with theme Widening the Integration Circle, Technology, Knowledge, Sustainability Partnership, attracted goodwill messages from the African Petroleum Producers Organization, APO, Oil Producers Trade Section, OPTS, of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and other local and international players in the oil and gas industry. As part of efforts to guarantee energy security for the country in keeping with its mandate, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, has secured a grant from the United States Trade and Development Agency, USTDA, to facilitate the establishment of a 1,350 megawatts independent power plant in Abuja. Speaking at the signing ceremony of the grant, which held during the just concluded Nigeria International Petroleum Summit, NIPS, in Abuja, Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Malam Mele Kyari, said the $1.16 million USTDA grant will be deployed for the provision of technical, economic and financial analyses necessary for the development of a combined cycle natural gas-fired power plant to be sited in Gwagwalada, a satellite town of Abuja.
Our plan, and it's ongoing, is to do 2 power plants, one in Abuja, one in Kaduna, and a 3rd one in Kano. What that will do is to debottleneck the delivery of power into the grid.
Earlier, the United States Ambassador to Nigeria, Mary Beth Leonard, said the grant was part of America's intervention to reduce the power deficit, create jobs and support the expansion of gas infrastructure in Nigeria.
Nigeria's gas reserves have to date been largely untapped, creating an incredible opportunity for additional production, increased domestic utilization, and eventually export to the global marketplace.
On his part, Director of USTDA Thomas Hardy stated that the grant of $1.16 million to the NNPC was an American power solution geared towards boosting the nation's economy.
Celebrate this next step of the U.S. government's commitment under Power Africa, under Prosper Africa, to securing greater energy capacity that will drive economic growth.
High point of the event was the signing of the grant document by the Managing Director of NNPC Gas and Power Investment Company, GPIC, Engineer Hussaini El Yakubu, for NNPC, and Thomas Hardy for USTDA. In a related development, the Group Managing Director of NNPC, Malam Mele Kyari, has restated the commitment of the corporation to deliver sufficient energy for the economic and industrial growth of the nation. In a presentation at the just concluded Nigeria International Petroleum Summit, NIPS, the GMD disclosed that the corporation was doing a lot to ensure national energy security.
For us here as a country, what we do need today is to transit into getting power to our homes, to our industries, to take advantage of the enormous gas resources that we have here.
Speaking in a panel discussion, the Chief Operating Officer, Gas and Power, Engineer Yusuf Usman, has this to say on some of the measures put in place to tap the abundant gas resources in the country.
For us in Africa, by implication Nigeria, we have a right to develop. Because we have a right to develop, it means we require a tremendous amount of energy as a base load and for peak shaving.
Acting Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division of the NNPC, Samson Makoji, shares some of the gains from the 2020 NIPS.
The GMD of NNPC has used the platform of NIPS to rally support of all key stakeholders to key into his vision in turning around the Nigerian oil and gas industry.
The Nigerian Senate have been called upon to ignite necessary legislative action that will support the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and the oil industry to combat the twin menace of pipeline vandalism and oil theft. Group Managing Director of the NNPC, Malam Mele Kyari, made the appeal at a presentation to Senate Joint Committee on Petroleum Resources made up of the Committees on Downstream, Upstream and Gas.
Mentioned clearly here that we're working with the relevant security agencies, and those spate of these attacks are going down. We're recovering the lines gradually. We're restoring them to sanity.
In his response, Senator Sabo Nakudu, chairman of the Senate Joint Committee, commended the NNPC GMD for the extensive presentation.
At least we know how much we are producing and how much a vessel is taking whenever they come to Nigeria.
Earlier in the day, the NNPC GMD was at the meeting of the Senate Committee on Finance conveyed to rally all federal government revenue-generating agencies. Malam Kyari used the platform to appeal for the quick passage of the PIB. In his response, Senator Ahmad Lawan, Senate President, who was on hand to declare the meeting open, pledged to ensure passage of the oil industry reform legislation within the year 2020.
Will provide the legislative intervention required as fast, as expeditious as possible.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) has announced the recruitment of 1,050 graduate trainees, signaling the successful completion of its 2019-2020 employment exercise. The Group Managing Director Malam Mele Kyari said the Human Resources Division of the NNPC has since commenced the issuance of provisional offers of employment to 1,050 fresh employees. While describing the recruitment as a very important assignment for the corporation, Malam Kyari stated that the outcome of the exercise reflected national spread and complied with all statutory requirements. The GMD maintained that recruitment in the corporation will be a continuous process, even as he noted that the experienced hire component of the exercise would be addressed in due course. In his words, and I quote, "We look forward to warmly receiving our new team members and working with them to build a corporation that all Nigerians will be proud of." End of quote. It will be recalled that the 2019-2020 recruitment exercise kicked off via nationwide adverts in the national dailies and online media on the 13th of March 2019, followed by shortlisting of qualified candidates, which commenced from about the 27th of March 2019. Then came the third phase on the 1st of June 2019, where shortlisted candidates sat for computer-based testing across the country, followed by interview in July 2019.
The Petroleum Products Marketing Company Limited (PPMC), a downstream subsidiary of the NNPC, has recorded a profit after tax of 9.34 billion naira for 2018 financial year. This was disclosed by the chairman of the company and group managing director of the NNPC, Malam Mele Kyari, at the company's 29th annual general meeting, which took place at the NNPC Towers, Abuja. The GMD, who described the performance as a confirmation of the growth trajectory recorded from 2016, commended the management and staff of the company for making a significant improvement on the 2017 performance.
What we've seen in the last 6 to 7 months is a great improvement on the way we do our business, in introducing more transparency and accountability and getting things to work. We'll do more by creating more automation so that our customers will have access to our transaction without coming to our offices. This is the ultimate that we have to do.
On his part, Managing Director of the company, Mr. Balawunti, stated that the focus of the company was to automate its processes in order to remain efficient and accountable in line with the transparency, accountability, and performance excellence TAPE agenda of the NNPC management.
Our focus going forward is to make sure that we automate our processes so that we can bring about improved efficiency and transparency in what we do.
The Nigerian Petroleum Development Company Limited, NPDC, a subsidiary of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation NNPC, has emerged the best exploration and production E&P company in 2019 at the 2020 Nigerian Petroleum Summit Awards Night. The Nigeria International Petroleum Summit, NIPS, is an annual oil and gas conference and exhibition avenue attended by delegates within and outside the country. The citation on the award relayed the focus-driven leadership of Engineer Mansour Sambo, the managing director of the company, which it noted was committed to emplacing NPDC on the path of steady growth since assumption of office in 2019, adding that his management had demonstrated aggressive advancement of exploration and production activities, engaging both personnel and resources to sustain increase in production in all the company's assets.
As a demonstration of his passion for sporting activities and healthy lifestyle, the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, Malamele Kyari, has pledged total support for the 2020 Nigeria Oil and Gas Industry Games, NOGIG. Speaking while receiving members of the Local Organizing Committee, LOC, of NOGIG, who came to brief him on the preparations for the Games, the GMD said he would use his position to ensure that more companies participate in the fiesta.
Getting a work-life balance is very critical for every organization, and you may have interacted with our colleagues from NNPC, but also if you're coming from outside, there were made several critical decisions.
Speaking earlier, Chairman of the committee, Malam Aminu Zaria, disclosed that the Oil Industry Games would be internationalized as from 2022, with Ghana slated to host the maiden edition.
We want to start from the neighboring countries that are engaged in similar oil activities like Nigeria. We had our meeting in Ghana and also Angola.
The Nigeria Oil and Gas Industry Games will hold from 22nd to 29th February 2020 in Lagos. The Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas Company, NLNG, has said that it had completed about 83% of its Nigerianization process with a view to meeting the 100% target by 2022. Mrs. Eyono Fatai Williams, NLNG Communication and External Relations Manager, stated that a subsidiary of the company, NLNG Ship Management Limited, NSML, currently has 661 competent and professional seafarers, made up of 297 officers, 329 ratings, and 35 shore-based personnel. The Minister of Energy of Algeria and President of the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries OPEC Conference in 2020, His Excellency Mohamed Arkab, said that following an extraordinary meeting of the Joint Technical Committee JTC, an extension of voluntary production adjustment under the Declaration of Cooperation process has recommended until the end of 2020, even as it was also recommended that an additional adjustment until the end of the second quarter should be pursued. This resolution was reached in Vienna recently. The JTC's recommendations came in response to the fact that the coronavirus epidemic, quote, has had a negative impact on oil demand and oil markets, end of quote, the president of the conference said. The committee also recommended a further adjustment in the production until the end of the second quarter of 2020. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, has said that the daily average natural gas supply to gas-powered plants in November last year increased by 16.53% to 645 million standard cubic feet of gas per day, equivalent to power generation of 2,178 megawatts. Comparatively, the October 2019 gas supply to power averaged 553 million standard cubic feet of gas per day to generate 2,050 megawatts. A release in Abuja by NNPC Acting Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs Division, Mr. Samson Makoji, has said. Quoting from the 53rd edition of the NNPC Monthly Financial and Operations Report, the release stated that national gas production in November 2019 stood at 228.65 billion cubic feet, translating to an average daily production of 7,621.68 million standard cubic feet of gas per day. A period-to-date production from joint ventures, production sharing contracts, and Nigerian Petroleum Development Company (NPDC) contributed about 69.50%, 21.06%, and 9.44% respectively to the total national gas production.
They've really touched so many people's lives in positive ways.
They really touched my life in many positive ways.
The impression I got from NNPC after the competition is the fact that it's a good one and it should be encouraged.
NNPC is an organization that is sincerely, genuinely interested in improving the lives of young people in many positive ways through investing in their intellectual capacity, investing in their education.
NNPC, we touch your lives in many positive ways.
Hello, it's nice to have you join us on the feedback segments of the program. My name is Julia Auta. It's the 3rd edition of the Nigeria International Petroleum Summit, NIPS. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, participated in this year's edition as usual. Here are views of visitors at the NNPC's pavilion at NIPS.
I can see that NNPC is expanding. They are doing much better, and they are really contributing their quota to the economic development of Nigeria.
Based on what people see, but I can tell, okay, this is a watchword anybody who works in NNPC should follow for development.
I've learned a lot that NNPC is transparent, is one.
And NNPC has given us the room for us as an aid-bearing marketer to be able to export oil and not to go into fraudulent activities.
I've been to their stand and for me, they're on point. They're living up to expectations.
Actually, I've learned a lot from NNPC for this year. First and foremost, I would like to commend the NNPC and the Minister of Petroleum Resources for organizing this year's conference of oil and gas in Nigeria. This is the 3rd edition of its kind and it's improving based on what we have seen abroad, like ADIPEC and then OTC. This is the Nigerian version of it.
For the NNPC, local and international summits such as NIMS gives her an opportunity to showcase trends and operational direction of the company to all stakeholders. And that's our package of this segment. Hello, thanks for joining us on this segment. My name is Faith Ayuba. Did you know that pipeline vandalism is the illegal act of puncturing or destroying crude oil and petroleum products pipeline to steal the products? Did you know that in Nigeria, the Petroleum Production and Distribution Anti-Sabotage Act of 1975 governs the petroleum vandalism law? Did you know that the Anti-Sabotage Act states that any person who willfully does, aids, incites, counsel another with intent to obstruct or prevent the production, procurement and distribution of petroleum products in any part of Nigeria will be guilty of the offense of sabotage? A person found guilty of petroleum product pipeline vandalism is liable to a death sentence or a term of imprisonment of up to 21 years. Did you also know that the effect of pipeline vandalism range from environmental pollution and ecosystem damage, fire outbreak, economic loss, plant and refinery stoppage, fuel scarcity, electrical power outage, and population displacement and loss of lives? Now you know. Don't go away. Crude Oil Outlook is next.
Hello and welcome to Global Crude Oil Outlook. Oil prices were mixed as concerns about falling demand caused by travel restrictions tied to the coronavirus outbreak in China, the world's biggest oil importer, outweighed expectations of supply cuts from major producers. Brent crude fell 8 cents or 0.1% to $55.71 per barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate WTI crude rose 7 cents or 0.1% to $51.24 per barrel. Brent rose 3.2% during the week, while WTI gained 2.5% as a slowdown in new Chinese coronavirus cases boosted expectations for a demand recovery. Oil demand in China, the world's second largest crude consumers, has plunged because of travel restrictions to and from the country and quarantines within it. Another Chinese oil refiner, China National Chemical Corp, said it would close a 100,000 barrel per day plant and cut processing at 2 others amid falling fuel demand. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, and its allies, including Russia, known as OPEC+, recommended an additional output cut of 600,000 barrels per day to its current 1.7 million barrels per day reduction to offset the disease-related demand losses. Thanks for watching. I am Owigo Okolo.
My brother, my sister, make we join the hand to stop pipeline of vandalization. When no they allow government to build the road, hospital, provide light, build the school, and make Nigeria be like big country. Make we dey fight the pipeline of vandalization. Make our country come better for we and we children. Now me and you go stop this wahala. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Make our country come better for we and we children. Make we dey fight this yama yama, fight this yama yama. Make our country come better for we and we children.
This message now from Public Affairs Division of NNPC.
That's Oil and Gas Forum. Thanks for joining us. We had plenty of delightsome stories for takeaways, but essentially more power coming courtesy of $1.16 million US TDA grants. Enjoy your week ahead.